Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert West. I am Program Director for RadioBob USA, and welcome to the first edition of Our Damn Show. Our Damn Show features Yasmin West, who's about to say hi,
Hello.
and myself talking about various subjects and ideas that come across our way while we are running the station. Anyway, on Our Damn Show today, we'd like to bring you up to date on some activities we've been doing in the world of fuel-injected Zen. Yasmin, would you like to talk about our ideas of fuel-injected Zen?
Well, yeah, this was really born out of, I'm not sure what it was born out of, but we observed, both you and I are quite into the spiritual realm, and what we observed was a lot of the race car drivers and people that are involved in extreme sports in general sort of do so to, there's a calmness that comes over them by participating in these real extreme sports and things that require such intense focus that it kind of creates your own little bubble that you're in, and it sort of drowns out the rest of the noise of the world, and you're focused on your goal, on getting through that track as fast as possible, whatever it is you're doing, and it kind of slows things down and centers you. And so a lot of these drivers that we've been talking to, they might not call it Zen state, but we recognize that as spiritual people ourselves.
Right, we recognize that as fuel-injected Zen, and so we brought this out of our love for racing. Yasmin and I have followed racing in different forms on and off through the years because we've been lucky enough to do so. So we'd gone to sprint car races back in 2007, and we were lucky enough to get hot passes to a NASCAR race at Sonoma, which Mike Thurman got for us. God bless him for that. And we were able to kind of see what happens with racing up close and personal, and even got some private lessons where we got to drive around a track in Rio Vista and compete against some sprint car drivers. But now we're going to Bonneville, which is a little different. And I think what I've noticed, and maybe you have too and have some thoughts on this, is that unlike the NASCAR world where it seems really commercial and focused and everything's like done at the crack of the whip, and they don't let you talk to people for more than 5 seconds because everybody in the world's trying to talk to these really incredibly famous drivers, we found that the smaller events, the once in a blue moon events, actually bring us the real interesting people. And so that's why we latched on to Bonneville, where you have a story about Bonneville.
Well, yes, I back in, I think this was 2009. You had told me about Bonneville because when we were living in Rio Vista, we actually lived down the street from Craig Breedlove, who's set multiple land speed records. He's not the record holder anymore. He got topped, but he set them twice, I believe.
I think that's right.
And he would do an open house once a year where he would open up his garage in Rio Vista, and you could go in and take a look at his vehicle, and he was signing pictures and posters, and he was just a great guy to talk to. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I went to Chicago one time, I went to the Museum of Science and Industry, which is right next door to the Fields Museum, which is also near Soldier Field. And the first thing that you see when you go through the door is the Spirit of America, Craig Breedlove, for I think it's 456 mile an hour car. And so you're right, we were kind of tuned into going to Bonneville, and then we had my brother who had crewed the Baja 1000, and we're a big fan of Dana Brown and his movie Dust to Glory.
Yeah.
And Step into Liquid, and we kind of liked the smaller events, so we decided that when we were going to get back out and meet the public to take this station more hands-on, we talked about it. We said, we should look at the dirt car circuit. So that got us one step closer to Bonneville by going and meeting Gary Thomas.
Yeah, but before we skip ahead to that, I should add that I have actually been to Bonneville.
Right.
Bob has not. So it was back in 2009 I had actually gotten laid off from my job. And for those of you that don't know, my day job is being an accountant. This radio station doesn't pay yet. But yeah, so I had a brief moment where I was unemployed. And so I just packed up, and I had always, heard Bob talking about Bonneville and how he took his car out there once. And
Well, it wasn't my car. I want to be honest about that. It was a company truck. So
Ah,
I didn't even own it. And I was on my way back from Evanston, Wyoming to Sacramento, California on a drive because I'd just been basically let go of a job. And they didn't need me anymore up there, basically. And
common theme.
a very common theme. And so as I was driving back by the Bonneville Salt Flats, and I said, well, what the heck? You take the exit, you go out there driving like an idiot, and you pray you don't get stuck. Which is luckily what happened. I did not get stuck, and I did get the work truck well close to 100. But I don't know if they have a classification for that. There was no Guinness Book of World Record team out there to verify it. But yes, I did stupidly take a work truck out there. But yeah, so that got the bug in Yasmin's ear, and she, well, you took my truck.
Yeah,
She took
yeah.
everything. So she just
Damn
looked at me and
straight
she
I
said, she had it all packed up, and I was like getting ready for work, and I was like, what's going on? She goes, I'm going to Bonneville, and I'm like, well, I want to go.
I was unemployed.
Right, I wasn't. So I had to stay home. But
But
yeah.
yeah, I just packed up the truck and food and gas and water and just headed on up. And I camped out there on the flats because I was unemployed. I didn't want to waste money, and it's not like you could get a hotel anyway at that late time.
If you're out, you can't get a hotel.
Yeah, but yeah, so I just camped out there on the mud flat area where they let you stay overnight, and it was quite the spectacle in the evening. Lots of people with a lot of adrenaline staying up all night racing around on quads and motorcycles.
So she goes to Bonneville, and then a few years ago, about 5 years ago, we had started doing YouTube videos for fun, but not like a lot of people do YouTube videos. We were doing them on our adventures, kind of like reporting on the places that we went. So we weren't doing van life, even though we were doing the same kind of thing, but we were going to festivals and we were going to air shows, and we had gotten our press passes. And so one time we were looking at a trip, and we said, you know what, we're going to go to Bonneville. And so we scheduled everything and set up the time and did everything that was required. And of course it rained like crazy, and Bonneville got canceled.
Yeah. So we still went to Wendover, but there was no event, so we did other things.
It was kind of boring. So yeah, we did other things. So we looked at it, and then when we started this radio station to help others, which is why if folks you're listening and you haven't quite glommed on to what we do yet, we're a nonprofit company.
Yes, officially.
Officially a nonprofit, and we provide life balance and coaching material to people in need. And
Yeah.
these can be professional life coaches that we're offering you,
And I'm meeting more and more every day.
and we're meeting more and more all the time. And so we have these people, and they have varied interests as well, but not everybody lives in what we call your genre, and our station is multi-genre, but it's also multi-focused. So we follow kind of the surfing world, and we follow the spiritual community, but at the same time we wanted to follow some activities so that we could tie this in with the YouTube channel and get people in visually and go to events. And so back in May we talked about it, and that's when we talked about getting a hold of Gary, which we had done last year, and really looked at the dirt racing circus, and we actually took our booth out to
Placerville and also Chico's Silver Dollar Speedway.
Yeah, and we did some events out there on New Year's, which were wonderful. And thank you to Scott and Cammie Arnold and Gary Thomas. And thank you very much to Rachel Sweet and Kobe Copeland, who run the Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California. So we're doing this, and we're going out and about, we're shaking hands, we're kissing babies, and we're looking at this whole thing. And at some point along the way, I was stupid and said, I want to go to Bonneville. And she kind of said, okay, yeah, right, whatever. And so I told Gary, I said, one of the things that we want to do is we want to meet people. We want to get interviews for our racing podcast, Hoagie's Garage, which we have every Friday morning at 11, so we can get some dirt racers. So we went. And we went to these events and we started meeting people. And then I started posting in the SCTA, which is Southern California Timing Association.
Correct.
Website. And then we became members of the Bonneville and El Mirage page on Facebook and contacted the SCTA, and through a few series of phone calls with Joanne and Heather Black, we managed to get a press pass.
Well, we have press passes, but
one from them.
Yeah.
So that gave us our media clout up there, and then it exploded. I don't know.
I think so.
I think exploding is the only way to term.
It's still going.
So as you bear with us here, folks, and this will probably be about 25 or 30 minutes total for this particular show, but we'd really like to thank Aaron Brown of the Garage Shop for, out of the blue, as soon as I posted on the Bonneville El Mirage page that we were interested in even talking about going up there, gave me his phone number from his shop in North Carolina and invited us to sit down with his team and interview. And he said that he would find us tent space, and lo and behold, it looks like
we're going to be under the Safety Clean tent.
Safety Clean. So that's a Clean Harbors corporation that's involved within the environment, right?
Correct.
I think that's, yeah. So not only are we going up to report on an event where we were just going to basically walk around or stand in the sun somewhere for a couple of days, but now we're in a tent next to all the racing trailers in the pits with more friends than we could ever ask for. John Wenenberg.
Yeah, he was our first interview.
He was an interview, and Michael Griffiths was one of our interviews.
We had that just last week.
Yep, and Erin Sills offered to interview, but I think we're going to meet her up in the sand. And Jim Higgins was mentioned, and numerous other people have been grateful and gracious and offering all sorts of assistance, including one of the chief timers. And I got to tell you, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I just really feel good about the whole thing. Now I got to do is see if we can afford to get there, but
yeah, well,
it's going to be close, folks. It's going to be close.
That's what credit cards are for, right?
Yeah. And so let's talk about that for a moment, because this is an important event to us, and one of the reasons why we're going is to get out in front of these 1,200 people that are worldwide. But our other events, I mean, we've got to be meeting 50, 60 people, and then maybe another 500 or 600 are seeing our signage.
Yeah, and we have
each time.
It depends on the type of event. Some people are more apt to approach our booth and actually talk to us at certain events versus others. But we have noticed a definite increase in our listenership after we attended an event, no matter how many people talk to us.
Yeah, and that's been going pretty well. It's funny because people talk about an online radio station. I don't know how many times I've heard this. And they go, yeah, you and your 3 listeners.
Yeah, no, it's more than that
It's a lot
now.
more than 3. We have listeners. We don't have just 3 listeners. We have 3 listeners in Germany sometimes, as we have 3 listeners in Sweden, as we have 3 listeners in the United States, and 3 listeners in Canada.
I'm not sure how that works. They must be some serious night owls.
Oh, yeah, right. Because we don't broadcast 24 hours a day. But Safety Clean and Aaron Brown, we're grateful to them because they're our on-site support and supposedly our knowledge. So we'll have a better idea on how to maneuver once we get up there on Friday, and we're going to stay Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to stay part of Monday, and then unfortunately we have to head back. We still have real jobs. Now, we got another boost from a group of people called Scenic Van.
Yeah.
And they took a percentage off of the van that we're renting up there, with the promise that we would never rent a van from them and take it to Burning Man.
Ah.
So I think that's really what the deal is. And they wanted to make it totally clear. We've had some gifts from Fast Signs. They've done us reasonably well, and I'm grateful. And then we've had some cash donations, which have been very helpful from
Yeah.
friends to help us get here because.
And Craig Diaz.
And Craig Diaz, yep, Diaz and Sig Realtors. If you're planning on coming to California, you should definitely talk to us or talk to them. But
He's a rock star real estate agent.
he really is a scruffy guy, but he gets it done.
He gets it done, and you will be pleased.
Absolutely. So Bonneville really is our big stretch, and for those of you that are following, and before we wrap this kind of thing up here anytime soon, Bonneville happens August 2nd through the 10th, but it's really what they call 3rd through the 9th. So I think the tech day is the first day, and people will run that first day. So Saturday and Sundays are some pretty big days, and then if you make a record, you get impounded, and then they make you run again to see if you can do it. I'm not quite sure,
But Friday night is when they have the big party
Oh, yeah.
over at the Nugget.
right. Or
So what they do is, so when I was up there in 2009,
this is really cool.
they run their cars, get them all salted up, so there's salt all over them, and then they take them all over to the Nugget parking lot in Wendover, and unfortunately, I do not have the pictures that I took in 2009. I was just snapping pictures of every vehicle there. It was so cool, but they were digital, and I lost them on my last computer upgrade. But yeah, there's just about every imaginable vehicle you can think of. Some look like little rocket bullet type shapes, and some are just regular hopped up Acuras or something like that. And so it's fun to see all the different type of vehicles at Wendover on
Right.
Friday night. And then when when I went the following day to the actual Salt Flats, and I purchased a pit pass so that I could wander around in the pits, and it's just amazing, the different type of vehicles, and there's all these different classifications.
Right, and so we're going to arrive Friday morning, and they're going to start basically doing their stuff Friday evening and Saturday and Sunday. And so we're going to try and do a couple of maybe recorded interviews Friday. I'm not sure yet. But we're talking about live broadcasting on this station
Yeah.
in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday from the event, and doing walk-ins. And so the idea being, folks, that we have spent a couple of months getting to know these people pretty well, so that when they come to Bonneville, I've been told to private message them or call them on their cell phones. And we're supposed to get people who are actually going to walk up to our booth that are competitors, and we're going to interrupt our regular broadcast, our musical broadcast on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, and actually talk with the competitors. And you brought up something pretty interesting too, on people who compete, because I always thought this was like jet cars and fast cars.
No,
and I didn't realize
they have motorcycles, and they not just one motorcycle class. They have motorcycle classes in different engine sizes. So like a 50cc and a 500cc and 1000cc. All the different ones. So there's truly a place for everyone there to compete.
Right, and we're talking about everybody, and it's not just the USA crazies either. So one of the people we talked to, Lee Monroe,
Oh yeah,
who's related to Burt Monroe, who's for all of you that don't understand land speed racing or any of this, please see a movie called The World's Fastest Indian. Or Lee's got a new book out on Burt that's about competitive racing, land speed racing, and his adventures. And Lee and Robin are on Facebook, and they are just wonderful people and more than willing to help you.
and he's hoping to do a documentary.
He's
soon.
hoping to do a documentary next year, and we really like to see how that turns out. But it gives you an idea that people come from far and wide. So, Bert came from New Zealand, Lee comes from New Zealand. We have a show, Bradley Simmons does that, B-Man. We run it every other Tuesday. But when we were interviewing Michael Griffiths, I don't remember if you remember the story about the two guys from France that compete in the 50cc motorcycle group. And they fly on a commercial airplane with their vehicle in 2 suitcases, and then they put it together when they get to Bonneville to make their vehicle, and they run for time out on the sand, and then they fold the darn thing back up in their suitcases and they go back home. And they become quite a legend from what I understand. I don't know their names. If anybody actually hears this broadcast and you want to tell us about them, that'd be great. You'll find us at the booth. But I thought that was pretty interesting. And I worked with a guy that did something called a belly tanker. Yasmin, do you know what that is?
I'm assuming that's one of those tank shaped. They make them out of airplane tanks, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. So
Yeah.
I've been forcing her to watch war movies for a long time, everybody. So that's probably how she knows. But yeah, so they take the drop tanks that they used to use during World War II and later on in Korea and Vietnam, and they pull them apart, and they actually put the engine, driver, axles, braking system, and steering system and everything in those. And they would get them up to around 210 to 250 miles an hour.
Yeah,
which is pretty darn fast for something that looks like, a cockroach, right? And one of the guys I worked with had a license plate that said 200 mile an hour.
Yeah, so they, I actually saw those when I was up there in 2009. And then, so they have the bragging rights once they hit like the 200 miles per hour club, the 300 miles.
Club.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. So.
Yeah, so I think my bragging rights, I could probably take 50. I don't know if they have a classification for work truck. I'm sure that I'm not the only person on the planet that's ever pulled over there and done the idiot thing of running their truck as fast as they can. You would think I would use something a little bit faster, but we're looking forward to going. And we've looked at some other events, and we want to get involved with some of those people too, whether we'll ever go to those events or not. But like we were talking about Dana Brown and Dust to Glory. So we like the motorcycle guys. The Hangtown Motorcycle Classic is right around the corner from us, and the more people that listen, the better chance we have to go, because we're not strong enough to warrant their attention, apparently, even though I think we are. The Baja 1000 sounds like a very incredible event, but it's in another country. It's a long ways. One end of it's up here and the other end's 1,000 miles away. And
it's a full commitment.
It's a real commitment when you're mounting a challenge to go to that. There's something called King of the Hammers, which is some off-road four-wheel drive huge thing that one of my coworkers races in. I'd like to look at that,
Yeah.
But Bonneville right now is really our big push, and it should be, because we've worked very hard to get to this point next week. It's been a couple of rough months, and I imagine it is for the people that are competing.
Yeah, they're probably freaking out right about now, trying to do all those last-minute adjustments, right?
Right, because that clock is just, it's ticking.
Tick, tick, tick.
And some of them, the weirdest part about this is as we're talking to you, as we're recording this episode of Our Damn Show, the first episode, know that it's 10 days before the event, and people are already traveling with their vehicles. Their crews are already descending into the neighborhood, so that the very moment that the time guy says you can get on the salt and walk on it and look at it and start getting into position, you can bet your sweet ass they're going to be there.
Well, we were keeping track of the Facebook groups, and there were some interesting things happening. They were en route like over a week and a half ago, and some of them were like getting stuck in spots, and
Yeah, I did see some interesting posts. Some poor guy was in LA, and the company that was supposed to haul his car for him couldn't haul his car, and so at last report on the Bonneville El Mirage site, folks, this guy was still in LA trying to get his competitive funny car to the salt. So I don't know if he did it or not. I don't know if he's going to or not.
Well, the nice thing, I mean, if somebody was able to help, I think
they
would
have. Help them.
That's the type of group we're talking about here, where when we interviewed Mike, he was talking about, you'd be there standing in line, the guy behind the guy getting ready to run would pull parts off of his car so that the guy in front of him could run. And, that's the type of camaraderie you're dealing with.
And I think that's why we wanted to look for them, because when we talk about our search for fuel-injected Zen, what we're talking about is trying to not only find their ways that they use as coping mechanisms to ease themselves into the car and put themselves in their space, but, some of these guys, they spend 300 days a year in their garage working on these things.
Yeah, it's their passion.
This is their passion. It's their Zen room. And it's interesting when people said, this kind of thing, you really need to do it in video. Do you? If I was to do a complete Bonneville video, as much as you all might like watching it once or two times, these guys aren't going to watch it because they're too busy wrenching on their cars. However, we can provide them with a radio station. They can listen to it for 300 days and probably won't get tired of it, So,
right. It gives them something to listen to while they're working on their car.
Right. That's something I believe in. It's something everybody, music to work in your yard, music to work on your cars. So, it's just another facet of what we do here on our station. Our search for fuel-injected Zen is our search at the same time to help you with your life and to help you balance getting through these crazy times that we have, without mentioning how crazy it is, because God only knows when this show is going to be replayed.
What will be happening next?
Yeah. Yeah. Every Monday morning it's something new, and where I work, that's for sure. Has been lately.
Yeah.
But this is July of 2024 when we're recording this, and we're talking let's go over the schedule one more time in case you didn't hear it, but RadioBob is going to put their booth up at Bonneville. We're most likely going to set up Friday afternoon between 1 and 3. We'll probably be in Wendover doing remote interviews, getting pictures, things like that. We'll be on the dirt overnight because we can't sleep next to our tent. And then Saturday and Sunday, sometime around whenever, we're going to get to our booth and we're going to hide out there all day until we go live, which would be around our Grateful Dead show plays at 2 o'clock, folks, Pacific Standard Time. I don't believe we're planning to interrupt it. If we are, we will be live between 2 and 4. And whatever time we are live, and this will probably be announced again, we will be at the exact same time on Sunday. So that's our plan. But you know what? You can get a hold of us at other places too. So for those of you listening and in the Northern California area, we can be found at some of the functions around Lincoln, California and Sacramento, California. We've been known to go to some car shows and farmers markets and dirt racing events, and so you can find us there.
Yep, we bring out our booth, we play the music, and we just go out and talk to people and let people know what we're all about. And we haven't told anyone, or nobody's told us that our music sucks, so...
Yeah, as far as I know, we've only had one negative comment, and I'm going to rat that person out right now, but I'm not going to give you their name. They were confused about the language in a song called The End.
The End by the Doors.
By the Doors. And the only thing I could look at them and say is, what? We weren't confused. So, if you're confused by the Doors, you're probably not our listener.
Well, we run pop too.
But we run pop too. So we run multi-genre, right? We have a jazz show. We run that on Sunday nights. Might as well tell them about that. Our Grateful Dead show on Saturday. On Fridays is our fuel-injected Zen coverage in the mornings. So always tune in for that. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we have actually our online radio station, Live Morning Drive from San Diego, California, with JB in the morning.
Yep, he takes over our station, so we have no control, and he does his thing.
And he does his thing. And so all of our podcasts that we run for other people, we run unedited and uninterrupted. So whatever mistakes they make, they're on them. Whatever they say, that's on them. That's not on us.
We sprinkle in life tips along the way from people like Spencer Jones, the Prince of Positivity. We just we want people to feel good again.
Yeah, we want you to feel good and we want you to like the music. So that's it for our damn show. See you at Bonneville. Thank you very much.
Woohoo!